Hi, I'm Betty Tish, and you're going to be watching this year's 2020 Senior Seminar.
Hi, my name is Tim. I'm a senior at Myers Park, and I am also a co-host for this seminar.
So you're probably sitting in a homeroom right now wondering what even is a senior seminar. This is a project that I've been working on for a couple months now. I know that we're all about to leave Myers Park and enter the quote unquote real world. And I wanted to give you some advice as we all begin to make that journey. So, what I have done is organize a talk between many successful panelists from a diverse array of careers and backgrounds. Myers Park has so many different students destined for so many different paths, and so that's why I tried to choose the most diverse array of backgrounds and careers and future plans in the panelists that I have selected. So, in this seminar, we are going to be discussing all of the tools that you can use for success. Everything from mindset techniques to start your day to alternate career routes that you can take without a college degree. And we hope that you leave today with a better understanding of how to plan for your future and how to overcome some of the obstacles that you'll inevitably encounter. So, let's get this show on the road and introduce you to our panelists.
Hey guys, my name is Ayman Kamel. I'm the operating principal of Five Church Restaurants. I basically do hospitality for living. It is the greatest thing in the world. I love my work. I love my job. The smile on our clients' faces on their way out while they're saying they had the most amazing experience is what makes my day. I am involved in the strategic thinking aspect of the business.
Good morning, Myers Park High School. My name is Lee Altman. I am the mom of two young men attending Myers Park High School. I'm a lawyer, and I will be Mecklenburg County's next at-large county commissioner starting next month. Just had my election, and I'm excited to get started. And look forward to talking to you this morning.
Hi, my name is Abel Jackson, and I'm a visual artist. I'm originally from Greenville, South Carolina. However, I've been living and working in Charlotte for the last 20 years as a visual artist. I currently specialize in mural painting and portraits as well as fine artwork. My studio is located off of North Davison, and I'm happy to be a part of your program. All right, thanks.
My name is Michael Castrillian. I'm a mechanic. I work with MPG Imports, and I'm one of the owners. My twin brother is the other owner, and we specialize on foreign cars. We work on the cars, we do the paperwork, we attend customers, we do it all. That's my job.
Hi, I'm Eining Low. I'm an oceanography professor at UNCW. In addition to teaching oceanography courses, I do research on climate change and its effects on water quality and nutrient cycling. The reason why I'm an oceanographer is because of two important things. One, the conservation of the environment, and using the information from that research to educate future generations.
So, without further ado, let's kick things off and see where our panelists were in high school when they were in our position. Let's start off with this opening question. What was your dream job in high school? If we could start with Mr. Kamel.
My dream job was to be a pilot. And different from everyone in this meeting, I'm the only immigrant here. I was born in Egypt. I'm Christian. And my dream job was simply to be a pilot. And unfortunately, I couldn't do it because your religion in Egypt can dictate what you can be, what you cannot be. And that's why I'm here in the U.S.
And I want to correct you here. We have another immigrant as well.
Oh, perfect.
Dr. Low is from Malaysia. And
hello.
while you were in high school in Malaysia, Dr. Low, what did you want to be initially?
I wanted to be a scientist since high school, and I did. I came to the U.S. to fulfill the American dream. I'm Malaysian, and Malaysia is a Muslim country, but then I'm not Muslim. I'm Christian as well. And when I came to this country, I finished 2 years of I transferred in because in Malaysia we have to take this brutal exam, and that translated to the first 2 years of college here, more or less. And so I finished my last 2 years, and then I went on to do graduate work and research in the ocean.
In high school, I would say at least the first 2 years, I wanted to play football. So up until that time, I've been playing football since I was like 5, and there's a big football culture where I'm from, South Carolina. So I always thought that I was going to at least go to college, maybe go to Clemson or something like that, and play football. Football kind of had a hard effect on my body, so I kind of knew I wouldn't be able to play by the time I got my junior year. But I did play out in high school, but fortunately I had other talents, so I didn't have to rely on sports per se. I did pretty well academically, and of course I also excelled in the arts. So when I went to the guidance counselor, she said, well, with your artistic ability, you could either be a teacher or a graphic designer. So I chose graphic design.
And last but not least, Miss Altman, what did you want to do when you were in high school?
Well, I just remember that I used to tell people that I wanted to be like the character in Beaches. It's an old movie with Bette Midler. She was an ACLU lawyer who, fought for people who needed a voice, to uphold the pillars of our First Amendment. And that's really what I admired.
So now that we've seen what our panelists were like when they were in our shoes, let's get to know them and their story a little bit deeper with some individual questions. These questions are tailor-made for each panelist to show you who they are, what they're about, and some of the greatest life experiences they have to give you advice on. So let's hear from you, Mr. Kamel. And though you're the owner-operator of Five Church Restaurant in Atlanta now, but I understand that after immigrating from Egypt, you previously owned a restaurant in New York, right?
That is the restaurant that changed me the most. It was such a successful restaurant, and I lost it to the 9/11.
How did you overcome losing everything to circumstances beyond your control? And do you have any advice on how others can persevere through similar obstacles in their own lives?
When I was 26 years old, I owned my first restaurant, and it was one of the most beautiful restaurants. It was an Italian restaurant, and it was by the World Trade Center in Manhattan, New York City. And when the 9/11 happened, I lost my restaurant. I was right across the street. And of course, that was devastating, not only to me as I lost my business, I lost friends too. And it did change my life for good, and it changed so many people's lives. And you wake up in the morning and your business is gone. And one of two things I had to do: either sit down and cry about it. Of course, I was devastated, but I got up again and I worked hard, and now I have 3 restaurants. So you will have, like, this is an advice I would love to give because I was there and I lived it. You will have so many fails, and it's all about getting up. You have no choice but to get up and do it again and do it again. And working hard and be goal oriented always puts you on the right track. Always puts you on the right track.
Thank you so much, Mr. Kamel. I love that story. It's just so inspiring that you were able to bounce back even 3 times larger, even in the wake of like such a tragedy. Now let's hear from our panelist, Ms. Altman. So Mrs. Altman, I understand that you have been elected as county commissioner. Could you elaborate a little bit on what that job entails for some of our students that don't know what a county commissioner does? Because I didn't know before I started talking to you.
Well, there are 9 county commissioners in Mecklenburg, and we oversee a $2 billion budget for all the essential social services for our community. What I really want y'all to think about is here in Mecklenburg County, we have a problem with economic mobility. meaning if you're born poor in Mecklenburg County, you are more likely to remain poor than many other similarly situated cities, according to a very famous study that was done several years ago. And that's a major problem, and that's something we need to address. You know, we have more than double unemployment because of COVID, the numbers that we historically have. And you know, there are a lot of adults walking around carrying debt, college debt specifically, you know, well through their adulthood. So I really want to just take a moment to focus on these problems for you, for high schoolers, thinking about what you're going to do when you graduate. Some of y'all are headed off to college, and that's wonderful, and we're so proud of you, and I'm excited for you. But a couple things to think about. Think about getting a degree in something that is really related to emerging jobs in our community. Like, for example, Mecklenburg County has thousands of tech jobs that are not filled. And that's, you know, the kind of skill that you're going to be able to, you know, retool and upgrade as the 21st century economy continues to evolve. You know, I certainly was, you know, focused on trying to go to the best college that I could get into when I was your age. As it turned out, I went to, you know, very lucky and grateful that I got to go to 2 state colleges. You know, I might have wanted to go to some sort of fancier, more expensive college had I been able to get in, but I'm really glad that that didn't happen in retrospect, because what occurred is that I had lower debt than if I had gone off to some of the, you know, maybe some of the other fancier colleges. And what that meant is that when I finally graduated law school, I was able to take a job working for the Attorney General of Georgia, where I did not make a lot of money, but I was able to do amazing work. And that wouldn't have been possible if I had had 3 times the debt. I would have had to go for a job that maybe I believed less in, but that I needed to take to try to deal with all of my student debt. So you, even at your young age, you want to really think strategically about some of these questions. And for those students who are not going off to college right away, you know, there are so many great pathways to financial independence here in Mecklenburg County. And that's something that I'm really focused on as a county commissioner. You know, there are a lot of emerging fields in healthcare, in technology, that pay a really good wage, that don't necessarily require the delay or the debt of a 4-year degree. You know, skilled trades, are a really, really booming economy. You know, we have incredible construction boom in Mecklenburg County. And if you need some of those skilled tradespeople for your home and your business, you better wait and get in line, because there's way more demand than there are people to do that work. And so there's just a lot of great pathways if you're not directly going off to college, that may involve a 2-year degree at CPCC, or a boot camp, or an internship, or a training program. That are some really fantastic pathways that we need to lift up and celebrate and sort of expand people knowing about. Whatever you do, think about the financial impact to yourself, the long-term financial impact. What's it going to cost you? What's it going to get you? And one thing I'd love to recommend to all of you guys is this blogger called Mr. Money Mustache. He's really cool. And he really sort of helps to break down all the little decisions you make about what cell phone to buy, and how to kind of cover your transportation costs, you know, and all these decisions you make really add up to the freedom that you ultimately have with the decisions that you make in your life. And you want to get educated and strategic about financial literacy starting now. And I would love to talk to any of you about that in greater detail offline. And thank you.
Okay, Mr. Jackson, we know you are a self-employed visual artist now, but after college, you had other plans of working in graphic design. Could you tell us a little more about what made you decide to stray from a conventional life and career path? And what advice do you have for others that want to do the same or are facing similar uncertainties about their future?
Well, for me, what I discovered once I graduated and I started working, I kind of ended up feeling more miserable, and ultimately it was because what I saw about or realized about myself is that for all that time, you know, going to school and everything that I was doing, I really didn't even know who I was, in a sense, because I was just doing what everybody else was doing. I was following the crowd, I believed what other people believed, and I really didn't think for myself. I was just kind of a sheep in a herd, and really wasn't thinking for myself. And because I wasn't thinking for myself, and hadn't evaluated who I am, I ended up getting involved into things that just didn't make me happy. I wasn't enjoying it. I didn't like doing it. I didn't like the path that I had taken. So I had to do some introspection and really look within and say, well, who am I? What is it that I really wanted? And I wasn't able to find all the answers to the question, but the one thing that I did know is that I'm an artist. You know what I'm saying? I knew that I've always been an artist. I love being an artist, and that was the one thing that, that is consistent throughout my life that I can draw back on that is unique about me. So what I would advise, you all to do is take out the time and really know who you are. I mean, that might require trying some different things. It might require exploring some different ideas. But when you're younger, you have a lot of other people trying to tell you who you are and what you should and should not do. You have a lot of influences on social media that everybody's trying to tell you what to believe and what not to believe. But you gotta think for yourself and figure out what you about and figure out who you are, and what you really want for yourself, because other people will try to get you to do other things that benefits them, even though it might not benefit you in the same way.
Okay, that was great. Okay, so thank you, Mr. Jackson. Now let's hear from Dr. Lowe.
Sorry.
Um, I know that you have a lot of valuable insight about pursuing a college degree. So first, I want to talk a little about your personal college experience. I understand that you immigrated from Malaysia to finish your degree at the University of South Carolina. What was it like being a part of the first generation of women in your family to be college educated?
I think it was one of those goals that my parents kind of set for their children. My parents have always kind of had this um, rule, if you will, that we all have to go to college, and so and thankfully, my brothers and I all agreed that we should go to college, and we wanted to. And I think it wasn't difficult per se because my father has a college degree. So I think that helped us see that, well, if the boys can do it, that the girls can do it as well. And so that was important. And even though my mother didn't have a college degree, she saw the importance of, going to college. And then when I'm in college, coming from an Asian country, a third world country, to a fairly developed country, and then going to the deep south, it was a big cultural change for me. And so I learned a lot about race and inequality. Going to South Carolina straight from Malaysia, I think the idea of not, being able to achieve what you want to achieve because of the color of your skin, that resonates with me.
And then from what you've seen in your own classroom as a college professor, what does it take to be successful if you decide to pursue a college education?
Oh, yes, I have a lot to say about that. So I teach a freshman level class in oceanography. I think after 15 years of teaching that sort of a class, I feel that the student has to be being organized, making a list, setting small goals. That helps with motivation, that helps with, keeping on task. And that's really important, keeping on task, being in college, you need to do that. Having said that, I also find that a lot of my students are there because their parents expect them to be, whether they want it to be or not. And that can be bad. As Ms. Altman said, you don't have to go to college. There are so many, certification programs out there for, highly skilled, for a highly skilled workforce that don't require a college degree. My mother herself never had a college degree, but she still managed to make a living for herself. Um, you know, being, keeping books for a couple of small businesses in the city where we live in. So you can still do things. And so it really just depends on what your end goal is. So, college may not be the route for you. And but there are other ways to be trained to get a good, to get a good job and to find to work for a living.
I love what you said at the end there about like how there's so many routes after college that are better conducive to a person's finances, a person's skill sets, a person's passions that don't necessarily have to be college.
I want to record that anecdote about how, I have students who in their senior year figure out that, maybe they should have gone the technical route, right? And so a couple of them have actually moved on from oceanography into marine technology. And we have a marine technology certificate program at Cape Fear Community College that they could have gone into. But I think, having that degree probably helped them decide what they want to do. And if you are not sure, so don't spend the 4 years a lot of money, trying to decide what you want to do with your life.
So what does it take to start your own business?
Motivation, a dream, be your own boss.
Yeah.
It's very nice when you're able to do that.
Do you have any tips for anyone that has a dream and is looking to start it out with a small business?
Be persistent. Don't lose that motivation. When you have something that you want to do, don't let people talk you out of it. Keep on trying till you will succeed. And you will succeed. In America, everything is possible.
Just if you have the power to like dream it, then you can will it.
Dream it, you achieve it.
Yeah.
That's it.
So now that we know each panelist and their story a little bit deeper, let's move into some collaborative questions, giving each panelist a chance to jump in and add to the question being asked.
So how do you guys deal with stress, and like what steps do you take to be the most productive possible when under circumstances beyond your control?
Learn to control the stress by having faith. If you have faith, everything is possible. I believe that if you have faith on something higher than you, things are possible.
Oh, I was just gonna say something that a lot of people overlook, sometimes they don't think about, that can be helpful and does work sometimes, is breathing. So like when I get stressed, I get tense. You can't think as clearly. So like doing different breathing exercises, whether it's like just taking 5 deep breaths, or rapid breathing, or alternate breathing, or even if you can meditate. By breathing alone can just change your emotional state and your stress state. And then once you kind of can relieve some of that stress, then it's easier to operate and find the solutions that you need.
I love that. I'll try that.
Yeah.
That's great, Mr. Jackson. That was on my
Thank you.
list also. And I would just say, especially, for high schoolers, if you're feeling stressed and overwhelmed, one thing that helps me cope a lot is making a list, kind of trying to pull all that out of my mind that's swirling around, put it on a piece of paper, organize it so that you can kind of objectively see what are all these things troubling you, knock out the ones that you realize are maybe not, are dumb for one reason or another, and then prioritize them. And I'm a big believer in elbow grease. You've got to put the time in sometimes, to manage your commitments and to achieve your goals. So, steady goes the race, as they say. Like, put that time in. Don't wait till the last minute. If you put yourself on a schedule and put in that elbow grease, I think that can really help to manage stress when you have a lot going on. And yes, Mr. Jackson, I think breathing, meditation, and trying to recognize what stress is related to ego, and thinking everybody's looking at you, but really no one really, is so focused on what you're doing. Trying to remove some ego so that, maybe that can help depressurize the way you're feeling.
I love that tip about ego. Like that's so important to remember. You know, not everybody's looking at you all the time, so there's no need to put that pressure on yourself. So I guess we're going to move on to the next collaborative question. So that next collaborative question is, what has helped you find your passion, and what do you really, really love about what you do?
The people. I enjoy my customers. I enjoy fixing their cars.
Yeah.
When it's when the customer have a problem with their car, it's challenging, and when you fix it, it's so nice. It make you feel good.
Yeah. So you get joy from helping other people.
Yeah.
It's all about passion, and the little story behind that. As an immigrant, I came to the US and I lived in New York, and I was planning just simply to go get my license as an architect. But then my uncle, who happened to be right off the boat as well from Italy, he was in the restaurant business, and he told me, why don't you just try to work in the restaurant business and see if it works for you. And I started to work with him, and I fell in love with it, and it became such a passion to me. Then the smile on people's faces when they're leaving the restaurant just makes my day. It makes you like feel no matter how tired I am, and when people come and say, wow, I had the best meal, I had the best time, makes all that exhaustion and all the tiredness just goes away.
I can jump in. The question was, what do you love about what you do? And I think I probably better explain what it is I do, because maybe not a lot of people know what county commission is or what county commissioners do. In a nutshell, local government has three branches. It's school board, city council, which does neighborhood zoning and transportation and CMPD, and then the county commission, which oversees all of our social services. So it's public health, mental health, education, welfare, and the environment, everything that touches kids and seniors and at-risk populations. And the reason why I love it is because, having spent 17 years as a lawyer advocating for individuals, I often felt really brokenhearted, frankly, over my ability to really change what, a likely outcome for an individual, because I was appointed to, help them with the one legal problem they had. And it was clear that there was often a whole lot of other things going wrong around them: lack of access to a good education, an unsafe neighborhood, lack of access to food, lots of sort of community-wide problems. And the reason why I love this is it gives me the opportunity to finally work at the policy level in this community to address the things that I've been fighting for throughout my career. And that's why I love it.
Yeah, I guess my passion is public advocacy to a certain extent, when we talk about conservation of the environment. So that's really important. I think education is very important. Maybe that's why I'm an educator. When you're in high school, you don't think that being a scientist is also being an educator. You don't kind of connect that. The expectation is that you would just become this super famous scientist, like those Nobel Prize winners, and you don't do a lot of teaching. And so for me, UNCW is kind of the perfect fit for me because I do a lot of teaching. Some of my friends in some of these bigger schools, like in Carolina, for instance, they don't teach as much as I do. And so I find that that's quite rewarding, and my passion, hopefully producing one or two more scientists that kind of want to go down this path.
What do you love about what you do? And what I love is what I do, because I just love art. I love being an artist, creating, and I guess because it was introduced to me as a child, like for most of us, we get it when we are children. It's always been fun to me. The only thing is that as an adult, I had to come into the realization that I could actually do it professionally, because I think a lot of people don't take it seriously, even though a lot of people enjoy art or painting or some form of art. I would say it was easy for me to find my passion. I had to do some introspection and ask some questions and that kind of thing, but ultimately it was always there, and I just love that. I love doing it.
I think we're going to move on to the next question. Tim, do you want to get this one?
Yeah, I got you. So does your daily routine include any like mindset techniques that allow you to be your best throughout the day? And if so, how could they be used by everyone?
In my business, it is extremely important to be organized. Being extremely organized in my business helped me accomplish so many tasks and helped me be ahead of the game, especially in our type of business where there's so many distractions. A mentor of mine, I will never forget, he said, it is so important to plan your day from the day before. And I taught so many of my staff and my management team that you make a list for yourself at the end of the day before you go home for your next day, 8 to 10 tasks, and you prioritize them and you take one by one and you complete those tasks. Being task oriented really helps. It's just not a punchline in a book you read. uh, it helps me a lot. Being productive and organized can really go a long way.
Okay, that's great. That's great. Did anybody else have anything to say about what techniques they use just to begin their day and to spike their mentality?
In 2020, I kind of got off of my routine just a little bit, but generally, I like to get the day started, in a positive way. Um, like like what was stated before, like kind of having an outline of, what you want your day to be like and what your tasks are. Because when you put that plan the night before, it's almost like you get to sleep on it. Then in the mornings, I like to get up and I like to do like, you can do any type of exercises you would like, you know what I mean? But I like, if I'm gonna do some exercises, I like to do some exercises in the morning. It could be everything from like, I might alter it, like do some yoga, do some weightlifting or something like that. But I like to get my heart, racing a little bit and exercise and get the blood flowing. And then kind of also envision just having a good day. You know what I mean? Like, oh, I'm just going to have a good day today and just take 5 minutes. You don't have to take a lot of time. Just take the 5 minutes to affirm that you're going to have a good day and then kind of go from there.
I think everything about our mindset techniques has been said. So now we're going to move on to the next question. So, what was the biggest motivator through adversities you faced, and how did you ultimately succeed in overcoming them to be where you are now?
Okay, I can take that one. So, as I mentioned, I had practiced law for 17 years, and then I decided to run for office. And the first time I ran was in 2018. I worked really hard. I worked so hard, and I studied, and I went out and met lots of people, and I went to all, the commission meetings to learn, and just really worked my heart out. And I lost. The first time I ran, I lost by, I don't know what it was, 2%, but I did lose. I'm, telling y'all this because, sometimes you don't succeed the first time. And it's hard. It's even harder when you don't succeed publicly. You have a very large audience. It was like a job interview for, tens of thousands of people. And, I was not successful. And so that's not an easy thing to kind of do. And it's not an easy thing to pick yourself back up and say, you know what, I believe in this so much. I know I could do a good job at this. A lot of people felt that way and supported me. And darn it, I'm going to dust myself off and get back on the horse. And, 6 months or 7 months after I was not successful in my first run, I announced that I was running again. And this time I was going to run for a larger region. Instead of running for just one district, I ran for the entire county for 1.2 million people. And I was successful. And so I just think that, it's not always going to go your way. And you're going to have things that don't work out the way you hoped, even when you put your best effort in. And that doesn't mean you should stop. It means that you should keep trying, keep working hard, and show that resilience in life.
Does anyone else have anything to share about how they overcame big adversities in their life and what their biggest motivator was through those adversities?
So Mr. Kamal said how in Egypt, he couldn't have gone further than what he was, and that's why he came here. It was a similar story for me. So Malaysia has these rules, these laws about how many seats in the university you can allot to each different race. And coming from the wrong race, I guess you could say, being Chinese and descent, I was basically competing for a very small number of seats in the universities. And that A-level exam I was talking about, I took it twice. They only offer it once a year. So if you take it twice, that means you are like behind a year, right? So the first time I took it, I didn't do well. I couldn't get into the university. I took it again, and I didn't get in again. So then I was done. There was no way I was going to get into the university in Malaysia. And so what I did was the American universities, they had these American university programs. They're kind of like community colleges, but overseas. So I went into one of these programs, and I did a couple of semesters there, so another year. So now I'm 3 years behind, right, my peers, right? So seniors, if you don't get in, and this is truly what you want to do, you can try again, and there are ways to do it. And going to a community college first and then transferring to another school works. And hey, I have a degree from the University of South Carolina, which is like a pretty good school for chemistry if you think about it. I had a minor in marine science. The marine science undergrad program at South Carolina is one of the best in the country. And then I went to William and Mary. I mean, come on, William and Mary for master's and my PhD. It's not insurmountable.
I came from Ecuador, South America. I became an American citizen. I came to the promised land. The United States is the promised land. So that keeps me motivated. That keeps me going. Try to make better for my family. So I love America. That's it. That's my motivation. To be here and be able to do what I do.
I would just quickly say that for me, in my greatest adversities in my career, one of the biggest factors is just having good people in your life, and being there for other people too. Friendships and quality friendships and quality relationships can help you through some very low points. You know what I mean? Where you can have somebody to kind of lift you up, and then at the same time, you might have to be there for somebody else to lift them up when they're in a dark space. The biggest type of adversities that I've faced I've been able to be successful as a result of having good people around me.
All right. Thank you guys for your responses to this collaborative question. What I loved about what you guys did with this was you pointed the advice back to seniors and the specific things that they could do to take your advice into their lives. With that in mind, we're going to move on to the last collaborative question. And then after that, we have a closer question that the whole group is going to answer as well. So Tim, do you want to take that last collaborative question?
Yeah. So in y'all's opinion, what's the most important quality for success? What would you say has pulled you through all that you've gone through?
I can jump in here. When I was a brand new lawyer and not experienced, I was working for the Attorney General of Georgia, and I got this case where these people were sending out these mailers that said, "Congratulations, you've won $10,000. Send in $65 to claim your prize." And I am sorry to tell you that 18,000 people sent them $65. Really bad guys. And there were 6 of them, and there were 3 lawyers representing all the defendants and me for all these victims, for these 18,000 victims in the state of Georgia against these old, experienced dudes. They pretty much tore me up. They made fun of me. They actually threw the Civil Practice Act, the book, at me in a deposition. I did make some rookie mistakes, and I will be honest with you that I went home a couple times and had to call up my parents and cry because, they laid me low. But I had one thing going for me that they didn't. Number one, I was on the right side. I was on the side of truth and justice. Number two, I worked harder. They were arrogant and they were lazy, and I worked my butt off. And in the end, I beat them all. I won a $1.8 million judgment just in restitution, another $20 million civil penalty award against these people. So what I would say is, feeling intimidated or outgunned is hard, but diligence, hard work, organization, sticking to it, and believing in yourself, and doing good things in the world will carry you through. That's my recipe for success, especially when you're young and inexperienced, as I was.
That's excellent. I can add to that. My father, may he rest in peace, taught me two things I live by, and it always helps. He told me, don't get worked up over little things. Keep your eye on the goal. Don't get distracted. And the second thing is, when you're making a business deal or when you're negotiating anything, no matter how small or how big it is, don't walk away from the negotiation. Always counter.
Not the word I wanted to say, assertive. You want to be assertive. You want to ask for what you want. And I think in the end, you want to enjoy what you're doing. I love the outdoors. So I love my job because I get to spend half of it outdoors. I think enjoying what you do is important.
So, Mr. Jackson, do you have any contributions to what you think is the most important quality for success?
I think a very important quality for success, of course, everything that everyone has said, but also imagination is very important. To be able to be wherever you are and kind of have an understanding of where you want to be and be able to imagine yourself in that position will help you get there. Just the powerful usage of imagination. So I guess that'll probably be, what I would add to everything. Plus what everyone else says.
Excellent responses, you guys. And after that series of collaborative questions, it's time for one last piece of advice from our panelists. So here's the closer question. So, what is the one biggest piece of advice that you would tell graduating high schoolers as they move into the professional world?
Well, for the closer, I would like to sort of echo something Mr. Jackson said. He was talking about how important it is to have good friends and also to be a good friend, and that reciprocal nature. And I just want to underscore being dependable in life, being dependable to the employers, the people you make professional commitments to, being dependable to your friends and your family. That is the most important quality. And maybe it's not super glamorous, but that's the whole ball game there. Thank you.
Well, they need to have, like, say, first a family structure, have support, family, they support you. And when you want to start a business or you want to start, a new career, make sure you don't quit because something becomes difficult.
Mm-hmm.
You have to stay with it till you achieve what you want.
Oh, I would say it's important to set goals for yourself. So, I mean, at any given time, no matter your situation, you can decide what you want to be, do, and have. And so it's good for you to have a target to kind of know where you're directing, where you're focusing your energy, and what you want to be doing, have. So set goals, small or large. That's a good thing to do, I think.
Having your own support group is important. And then having good mentors is important. But how do you find those mentors, right? A lot of times it's serendipity. But I think being surrounded by people who give you positive energy instead of people who kind of bring you down is important. And sometimes you don't need to fit in. Don't try to fit in because that might not work for you. And I think I've been really, really lucky with having, I think the reason why I'm a chemist today is because I had some really, really good chemistry teachers my entire life, all women. So I could see that you know, a woman can be a scientist as well. A woman can be a field scientist, which is kind of rare. And a woman can be a scientist that can go out to sea. You know, I would spend, you know, weeks on a ship in the middle of the ocean, and it's a very rare thing for an Asian woman to do. But, you know, I've seen that other people have done it, so why can't I? And it doesn't even have to be, you know, going the college path because, you know, I'm a college professor, I'm telling you this, but in anything really. If it doesn't work, you're still young, you can come back and do something else.
Yeah, just like your life is kind of yours to shape, and like whatever aspirations and dreams you have are like adaptable.
Now, having said that though, you must give it a chance.
Yeah,
Give it a chance. Don't just try it for a couple of months and then say, oh, I'm done.
yeah. You have to persevere if you're actually like trying to get anywhere in anything.
Try it.
Yeah. Mr. Kamal, do you have any big takeaway that you want all high schoolers to know?
I believe that it's okay to talk about issues to the people that surround you, the trusted people that surround you. Like sometimes when, like I lived it, sometimes when you close your mind and you don't want to listen to any opinions around you, you might end up making wrong or bad decisions. Listening to the people that uh, you trust or people that are around you and talking about issues definitely can help put you on the right path.
And that concludes our senior seminar. Thank you so much for tuning in, and thank you to all of our panelists for your incredible stories and advice. And so I hope that all of you seniors listening in have learned that there are many routes you can take after high school, whether it be going into a skilled career or going to college or taking time to find out what your passion is. And I hope you also recognize the many faces that success can wear, and not to compare yourself to the routes that other people are taking after high school. In the end, you are ultimately the one in control of your future and can take the tools that we've discussed today to be successful. But before you rush off to second block, there is a post-senior seminar survey that you can complete. Completing this survey will put you in the running to win one of a couple Chick-fil-A gift cards, and also give us valuable feedback for how to make this event better for next year's seniors. You can access this survey by taking out your phone and scanning the QR code with your camera app. Or you can go to the website linked below, which will be available in your Canvas announcements. And thank you all so much for attending our senior seminar. Have a great day.